Hello, bud. Nice to see you.
Hey, how's everybody
Great,
doing?
thanks. You?
I was having technical problems a la Alan Walls here, but I solved it with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah. I think it's catching his problems.
I'm telling you. I had built a shut for some of my, drives, and something got unplugged, and I found it
Well
there.
done. Well done.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. Busy, getting nowhere, but busy. Half the fun, I suppose. Yeah. I'm just building Arduino parts, and controlling stepper motors and things at the moment.
Having too much fun with the Tinker Toys?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm. Yeah, doing a little bit of that. A bit of designing, bit of building, playing games.
Gotcha. Well, I've been messing around too, so it's always something.
Good. Good.
Hey, Alan,
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Allan.
How are you?
did you make it back with a stand?
I did. I did. It is amazing.
Cool.
It was also very, very heavy. It only just fit in the car. But if any of you have never visited Wisconsin at this time of year, it's absolutely gorgeous. I drove back yesterday down the Mississippi, the whole way to Dubuque from where was I? La Crosse. What an incredible drive that is. Alan, I know you know that area. I'm sure you've been around Wisconsin, right? It's just amazing that the leaves were changing and I've never seen so many bugs in my life. That place is the buggiest place. Which surprised me. I'm sure it won't be in a couple more weeks when it gets cold, but very nice people too. Thoroughly enjoyed the trip. And I have done exactly nothing to prepare for today's AfterStack because I am relying solely on Bud's ingenious plans for today.
We'll see how she goes.
But I can't remember whether or not you've actually shown everybody your new microscope in this venue. I know you have over on the presume, but has everybody seen Bud's new microscope?
Everybody raise their hand if they've seen it. Yeah,
Oh, you've all seen
I
it.
think they've
Okay.
all seen it. Yeah.
Okay. It's such a beautiful microscope, anyway.
So I got a new lens, Alan.
Okay. Oh God, you got the 150.
Yep. And guess what?
Why are you not grinning?
It is corner to corner sharp.
Well, I know that.
Well, when you get things off of eBay, sometimes you send them back.
Yeah.
This one's staying.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
Well,
Does everybody know what Bud bought? He got the printing nickel 150. You know which one it was?
yeah, it's the old one.
The old one?
The one with the second ring.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I am off of Zoom somehow. There we go. All right, so I've got to change cameras here, so
Okay.
bear with me. And
Jillian,
it's not,
how are you?
All right.
it's not giving me a choice. Let's see. For some reason, it won't let me look at my iPhone. Anybody got any ideas?
Just hold the lens up in front of you.
Well, it's
Oh,
okay.
it's already no. If it's already hooked up, don't do it.
It doesn't take a second to undo it. It just screws,
Is it the 1 to 4 or the 1 to 1?
1 to 4. It's actually quarter to 4, 1 to 4 to 4 to 1.
Yeah.
It's huge too. Oh my goodness. Beautiful.
So it's got that little knob, you see, to turn it.
What's the serial number, Bud?
174072.
Beautiful, beautiful lens.
But anyway, I was evaluating it, and I mean, I don't know whether you can see through it or not. Let's see. Look at that.
Oh yeah, look at the size of that. You've seen the MTF curves on that lens.
I have them.
It is
MTF 50s. I finally learned what the MTF 50 and 10 were. 50 is 50% contrast, and the other one's 10%. So the 50 is always a better thing to do.
right. That's the modulation part of the
Right.
equation.
Right.
Well, that is impressive. Though the graphs on it are quite amazing, and there's virtually no difference between the axial performance and the tangential performance of it. The lines are superimposed. What are we talking about today, Bud?
Well, I was going to give you a little recap to start with, and then I wanted to open it up, since this is a round table, and see what other people are doing and what they have had trouble with. And I've been working on a wasp that caught out on the deck, and I thought we could finish it up online maybe and just discuss some of the things that I find useful to do along the way. But if somebody has pictures, nobody sent me a picture, which was somewhat disappointing. I was hoping to have some other stuff to play with, so I need you guys to start contributing if you don't mind. Make it useful for all of us to learn something. So otherwise, I just feel like I'm a lecturer, and that's really not what we intended. But
Yeah, do you want just the stacked picture, the TIFF, or do you want the raw images before stack? But
I can do both. If you want to put them in either WeTransfer or Dropbox, it teaches me your workflow, which I learn from everybody. I'm not here to criticize anybody's workflow,
yeah,
but it's fun to know how you're thinking as you put a picture together for me.
yeah,
And it's also nice to have the raw, but the problem with raw is a lot of times I will use that the linear profile.
yeah.
And so I have to download your camera profile, or you can send it to me and I'll install it. So
Yeah, because I do the linear and then then convert to TIFF and then stack at
yes,
that point. So
You
but
you
but
can
my husband
send in you can send in pictures at in any format or at any point in the process. Just
yeah,
let us
exactly.
know what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the most helpful thing will be when you have a question about how to make the best of a picture that has got something going for it, but you can't quite put your finger on it, because that way I think we will be able to refine our techniques when we see what people do with it, like we did at Presume last week, where we looked at different ways to edit a picture and came up with a black and white approach that was just phenomenal. So any format.
Yeah.
You
My
haven't,
husband found a dead wasp also, so I've been shooting it like every night this week after he goes to bed, so I don't have the vibrations because I have it on the 10x objective.
Cool.
So
Well, you
it's
should show that. Let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, we'll do that.
yeah, it's not quite there yet. It's I was having a lot of issues, but I'm getting there. So maybe
The
tonight.
issues is what we want to deal with. That's the part that's fun.
Send it along, Julie. Come on.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can
it got to
still
the point
enter
where
it.
it was all dried up, so I broke it apart, and so last night I was shooting the underside of its head region, So,
Before you start, Bud, let me interject one thing. We talk quite a bit about books, but the best field guide I have seen in years, Dragonflies of North America. It
Wow.
was just released by Ed Lamb. This is one incredible field guide. It's got so much detail in the key. Recommended very highly. Just got it last night, so. All right. You're going to do a recap, Bud?
Yeah, unless somebody has another question before we start.
Well, where do we send this stuff? Do we send them on Discord? Or who's
I can give everybody on Zoom here my email if you would like it, and you can send them directly to me.
Okay, I'd rather send them directly.
Let's
you can
do
keep
that.
this from sharing, Alan, or when you post it or not.
Say that again?
Should I put it in the chat so you can
Yes.
eliminate that when you do the video?
Actually, I'll put it in the chat and then edit that out in the recording. So
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
You're going to put it in the chat for me?
I will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, so the recap, just so everybody will remember, I think it's been a couple of weeks, but let me share screen here. So we'll do this one and this one and this one and share and keynote. All right, is everybody seeing me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is for 2 weeks or actually a month ago, I guess we missed one. So what we did was we did the Dave Kelly, and Dave Kelly was going to teach us about masking in TK9, and his video covered these 4 different masks: the luminosity, the zone mask, the color mask, the saturation mask. It's a 30-minute video, and if you haven't seen it, it's very informative if you're looking to get into the finer details in an image. And the other part, which preceded that video, was myself trying to explain some of the buttons and sliders so you would be a little familiar with them prior to seeing Dave's video. And after that, we discussed the pros and cons of using luminosity, color mask, etc. So that basically is the recap by itself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Photoshop, can you see that? Anybody see that?
I just see a ruler.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a ruler. That's Lightroom. Okay, let me get out and come back in. I guess. Always something.
Still just a ruler.
Okay. I'm trying to find my stopping share. I do it.
Okay, yeah, you stopped the share.
And then we will try to go. That's what happened. Somehow Photoshop got closed. Is that right? Huh. That doesn't. Let me go to Photoshop open. Go to Zoom. Try to share. It's not showing me Photoshop to share. Any ideas?
Are you trying to share Photoshop by itself or just the screen that it's on?
Either way.
Well, if you tried the app, just try the screen instead and drag Photoshop to that screen. You've got two. Have you got 2 screens?
I've got the one that's got everybody at the Zoom meeting.
Uh-huh.
And then here's Photoshop over to the right. Let's see. Can you see it now?
Nope, you're not sharing.
Okay.
You're hit share once and then pick the other screen that you're using and hit share again, and then you can drag Photoshop over onto that
Oh,
screen.
it just opened. I got it.
Okay,
Good.
that's it. Yep, you're in Photoshop. That looks good.
Okay, and Bill Wheeler asked me to keep things as big as possible. He said it's a little
Polistes.
hard. So I'm going to, I can't make these things shrink very much. That's about the max I'm going to get, I guess.
What
He
did you
said it
shoot
looked a
this
little
on, bud?
small. Say it again.
What did you shoot this with? Your new lens?
No, I did this for you, Alan, because this is the 95, the one that is best at 2:1 or 1:2.
Right.
Shot this at 1.3.
Ah, okay.
So you could get an idea of the resolution when you're not at the maximum perfect, magnification.
Right. Well, it shouldn't change the resolution, but it's just going to change the correction. That's where it's slightly less optimized.
So anyway, this was shot at 1:3.
Okay.
So not quite, it's a little bit wider than 1:1 for everybody. So if I go in and look at the detail, this is straight out of Zareen. This is the way it came out on the stack. You can see all the artifacts and whatnot that it has. And so I decided that this needed cropping, so I put it into a square format. And then I created a mask, which you can see here. And then we improved on this mask like we always do, but this got rid of the pin and all of the junk.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I did this mostly was with the remove tool. Rarely I had to use a different tool. I'd say 95% remove tool for all of this effort. Let me make
you
it bigger.
used the remove tool on another layer, so you weren't actually using the mask to get rid of it.
Correct. So what I do is I put up a new layer. Can you see it over here to the right and still see it?
Yeah.
No, my people are in the way. There we go.
So down here, there's a layer that I call cleanup. And so this is where I put the remove tool. And if you want to see that, this is what it looks like. That's all the stuff I removed. When I turn it on and off, you can see all what happened.
Yep.
And then the next one we do is I got rid of some of the halo effects. So you can see here.
Tell us again why you choose the remove tool instead of the spot healing brush.
I find it much more efficient.
How so?
I can go over the most complex area and it makes it perfect. I can remove, you see all this halo? I removed a lot of that halo with the remove tool.
Yeah, it's just gotten a lot better on the every time they update it.
It's become quite a nice tool to use. I used to use, like you do, the spot removal kind of tool. I think this is like twice as good.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the spot. I only use the spot removal tool for spots, really small focal areas, but I would probably use the clone stamp tool to get rid of this halo. But
Well, go
Sorry,
ahead.
but are you using the 2025 version of remove tool? The new updated one that's come out with the latest version of Photoshop?
Yeah, whatever the latest version is, that's the one I'm using. I'm not using the beta, even though I use the beta for other things.
So this is the one with the automatic function and the AI choice.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
And that generative AI is pretty amazing. I've used it several times and it's been wonderful.
Graham, why do you ask that question about which one he's using?
Because it's had a major update, Alan. it's become automatic, and you can choose whether to use the standard remove function or the AI function within it. So it's a much more honed tool.
Are you using the AI one mostly, or the standard one?
I'm just still experimenting with it, but the automatic is pretty good, and it gives you a brush that you can just brush on, and it's magical, really.
Okay.
Bud,
Yes.
does the remove tool need a reference point like the healing brush does?
No. If I wanted to heal something, let's see. Let me go back and turn off both of these. And I'm just going to put a layer right above this one, which is a new layer. So I can call this one, let's see if I can get it. I'm going to call it test so I can throw it away. And let's use that remove tool to remove a couple of things. So the remove tool lives up here. Can you see that box that I opened?
No, I'm not seeing your toolbox.
Got you now.
It's probably right behind, it's up at the top of the column there.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 items in it, isn't it, Bud? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a spot healing, it's got the remove tool, it's got the healing brush tool, patch tool, content aware move tool, and red eye tool. So the remove tool is the second one down, and it's got little stars around the band-aid. And if we go into here and let's find us something complicated to remove. I mean, let's see. Most of this stuff in here, let me magnify it up so you can see it good. Everybody see that all right?
Mm-hmm.
So see how I can just paint around it? That
Wow.
left a little blur, so I didn't like that one. Let's do it again. So Command Z undoes it. I'm going to make my brush bigger this time. You see how much better it does if you give it some surrounding to look at?
Mm-hmm.
Undo that, Bud, and use the healing brush tool to do the same thing. Let me see the difference.
The healing brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one?
Yep.
So
And
this one you take you have to take a selection.
Nope, you don't.
The healing brush?
Yeah.
No, sorry, the spot healing brush.
That's what I thought. Okay. Let's see. The spot healing brush is here.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of color fringing. Let's try it again. Let's come up from the bottom. That's a blur. Let's just do right over it.
Okay.
Still got some-
It's not
Go
as
ahead.
good, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I've been having problems with.
So if I go now and use the remove tool, I'll go back. Let me make sure I have the remove tool. And if I take it from the bottom and make it a little bigger, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty remarkable.
Feels like it was never there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come down and say, let's take a look at this area because we just want it to go away. If you don't like it, you try it again from a different direction, I find. And all of a sudden it's perfect.
Have you got any examples you've done recently, Bud, with that, where when we get the crossed over legs and that sort of thing, that the stack doesn't, sort of do brilliantly always?
I have some like this up in here.
Yeah, that sort of thing, isn't it? I mean, that's the stack can struggle a bit, can it? Because it's quite a complex thing to get right. But doing
I don't use the remove tool. I'll show you what it does if we can try it. Sometimes it works. That time it worked. You see how I did it?
right, but you got to be careful, yeah.
Let's try it down here.
Sort of, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd live with that all day long.
Yeah.
In that kind of
vacation
situation,
here.
I would just take a piece of that layer that doesn't have the haze on it and just clone stamp it in.
Well, that's what I used to, but this thing is starting to work so good, Alan, that you need to rethink it, because look at this. See this area here?
Right.
I just go across it once. What happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it never was there.
Now, the other thing, remember, since we're putting this on a layer, let me see if I can show you. You see that layer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously you can use the eraser tool at a low percentage. I've got it at 1%. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to blow it up a little more so you can see. And let me get a little bit more action in here. So I can come in here and kind of fine tune what I'm looking for and take all of that off of there. You see what I'm done? And you're done.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Anyway, it's just another tool. I've been using it more and more. I mean, when you come down to something like this, which is the glue that I used, and let me get the remove tool again. And, I was able after a couple of times to remove this thing entirely. And sometimes you clean up with the clone stamp. But, it works it down pretty well. It gets it where it's manageable. It's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things I would be concerned about with a tool like that is it adding or subtracting anatomical detail that might not be correct.
If I was doing this from a scientific approach, I'd be concerned, but from an aesthetic approach, making art, I don't care, personally. As long as it looks good and the viewer likes it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it.
No, I hear you.
Might get picked up in this month's competition.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go into Nikon small world or anything, I'm just having fun what I'm doing. I'm too old to get into that involved with that stuff.
But
Yes.
I saw someone demonstrating this with landscape. Excuse me, and he was saying the new area, because it's AI, is a lower resolution than the original picture.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. And he said
That's interesting.
Yeah, it'd be okay for web stuff, but probably not prints and stuff like that.
That is very important. Yeah, so a full-size print might show the area as being lower res.
If you go on YouTube, there's several people that have excellent workarounds.
Mm.
They take an area and divide it into fourths, because basically you're getting a quarter resolution. Okay, and so they just do a quarter at a time, and it works out fine.
Oh, cool.
Any other questions for our show the next layer?
Nope.
Okay.
But
So,
if an area, forgive me, if you got a wing and you don't want to use the remove tool for the whole wing because of the resolution issue, when you just use it on a quarter of the wing, you're still going to have a quarter of the resolution in that quarter of the wing. So how does that change anything if you do it in 4 parts? If the replaced part's going to be 1/4 resolution, it doesn't matter how small the divisions are.
that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and review that. I can work on that for next time if everybody wants me to do that.
Sure.
No, I'll be looking it up. It's just an interesting.
I can't answer.
Maybe there's a size that it drops the resolution below which it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that it did that, so I'll check it out.
I know in generative AI, you can, on the part that you picked to blend back in, you can upscale the resolution of your choice.
Ah,
But on the remove, I'm not sure how that would work.
So far, I've not, even blowing it up to 200%, been able to tell that the remove tool left something pixelated. But what I was going to show you, you see this wing over here behind this foot? See how I didn't quite get it back far enough. And
Right.
so I had to reconstruct it with a clone tool and ended up looking like that.
Good.
Does everybody know how to turn the clone tool?
No.
Yep.
Knows?
Yeah, you can flip it, resize it, feather it. You can do all kinds of things using the clone stamp. What is it? The origin tool from the window menu.
It's this, if you look, it's awfully small. Can you see it up at the top?
Yeah, clone source, right.
I'm going to bring it out here. Can you see that better?
Yeah.
See the angle at 0? So if I go in, let's say that I wanted to, let me get something that's brighter. Let's say this leg, and I'm going to make a big one. I have the clone stamp selected, and I'm going to make you see it? Now, if I hold down 3 buttons, I can turn it. On the Mac is Shift Command. I assume that's Shift Control on a PC. So I'm holding those down, and now the right and left greater than, lesser than symbols on the keyboard. If I hold down the right one, well, let's see. Am I holding down the right buttons?
I thought it was just the shift key to turn it, and
let's see. Hang on. I got it away from that's what happened. The option. There it goes. It's the option, not command. You see it turning? And can you see the numbers on the angle up there on the panel? I can't let go to show you, but they're turning as well. So then when you take this thing over, you can click it. And when you turn it again.
But I find it's much quicker to just go up to the clone source window, click on the angle and slide it left or right. And I've got on the angle shape on the left. Yeah.
Here.
I found that it moves the whole picture, but when you let go, it'll be back in the original format, and only the clone stamp parts changed.
Oh, good. I was worried when it rotated like that. That's why I stopped doing it.
No, but I've got very good at just looking at it and guessing the angle in one direction or the other, and you usually get it pretty darn close.
Okay, so if you take this angle then and take it toward the right,
it rotates to the right, clockwise.
It rotates clockwise.
Yeah.
You go back the other way, it goes counterclockwise.
Right.
Exactly. When you let go, it's all back to where it was. And if you click on this button, it resets it to 0 and you're back where you were.
And you can flip it horizontally and vertically with the 2 buttons above it. That will just flip the clone. So I frequently will want to put the left side of a limb of an appendage on the right side of the same appendage because there's some problem there. If you source it from one side and then press that top button that has the 2 squares and the arrow, it just mirror images it, and you can then paint it on the other side. Very, very useful tool. And the other button does it vertically.
Okay, so we're talking about here.
Yep.
And here.
Yeah, they just flip the clone source so that it's opposite of how it appears in the picture.
Any questions before I move on?
One other thing, when you make some selections like that and you change the clone source, you can there are 5 memory buttons that you can click on to store that translation, so that if you're using it a lot for that picture, you can just go straight to one of those little icons at the top, and it will give you that flip and rotate just the same for every clone stamp use.
So if you did 10% and you did an inch, and then you went another inch, would it add 10% to that first 10%?
No, that would just make it a preset that you
At
had.
10%,
If
okay.
you wanted to add more rotation to it, you could do that, because the preset just gives you the starting place.
Gotcha.
I find it in repetitive things, if I've got something where I've got a lot of the same angles that I'm trying to work on, it just speeds it up. You don't have to reposition the clone source every time.
All right.
Cool.
I think I did some wing repair on the next one. Let's see. That's the one we just looked at.
That's incredible resolution from that lens, bud, from that 95.
Yeah, wait till you see the 150. I'll show you a picture of that ruler. That's what I was testing.
Okay.
Scratches on a ruler, if you want to see toward the end. But so what I did here was, this is just the cleanup type stuff. If you watch, you can see that this is where I added hairs and did repair.
Mhm.
We just talked about that, I believe. And then this one, there was a bright spot on the thorax there, and it just kept catching my eye, so I eliminated it mostly. And then this is a dodge and burn layer. Let me back out so you can see the full effect of what's happening. You can see all the bright lines that were sort of around limbs.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the limbs brighter when you darken a little bit around them, and unless you see them blinking on and off like this, you don't notice it. You know, it adds to the three-dimensional effect.
Mm-hmm.
Then this one, I just decided I was ready for the camera raw filter, which is what I use. This is garish. I had it.
What was the purpose of this layer, bud?
I was just bringing up the contrast, but let me see. I'm not sure why it's staying so bright. I had my opacity that I could pull down. Here it comes. I always make it a little bit brighter than I need to, so I can adjust it with the opacity layer. It's just me. But you see how that one doesn't look clear? And as you start bringing it up, all of a sudden it looks like there's some kind of clarity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I bring it back down, you can see that it's not as garish as it was at 100%. I'm right around 53%.
Okay.
So this basically is a smart object turned into a smart filter with camera raw filter, which you find up here at the top under filters, right there. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so basically it's using camera raw, i.e. Lightroom, if you want to. And if I open that filter, I'm going to move all of you guys over to the other side. So here's the filter, and we'll just, I gave it a little bit of exposure. I gave it a little bit of contrast. I backed off on the highlights, darkened the shadows a little bit, added a little black. Okay. The other thing I do is calibration, which you've all seen me do. So I added some sunshine here at the bottom to a plus 22. I can bring it back to 0 to show you what it looks like. So that was 0. And so as you bring this up, you can see how it lightens up with this bottom slider.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring it up a little bit. And then this one, it makes the orangish. See it? So it's kind of a orange glow thing. And then if you want the orange to be a little redder, you use this one. And so that's my thought process as I go through calibration. And this is before and after. So it's added color, but you're actually playing at the pixel level. You're not using the hue saturation, and you can tone it down with the opacity slider. The other thing I use is a color grading, and I use this not to color grade, but to change. In other words, if I click on this one, I'm at midtones. At midtones, I cannot blow out the highlights and I cannot block up the blacks. It's basically like a TK mask. It keeps you from doing that. So if I just use the luminance slider, I can move it both ways. And I'm not affecting the darkest darks and I'm not affecting the brightest brights. So I can adjust my mid-tone contrast using the color grading. If I want to go into the highlights, I've increased the luminance a bit, but you can see that this is down. And then you can go too much and you can find where you think it's happy, somewhere in there. And then the dark tones, same thing. I added a little dark. So you can go too light, you can go too dark, and you get to pick out where you want to play with the darks. So I use color grading for luminance, the luminance slider. If I wanted to add some blue to a guy like this, I could do it. Let's say I wanted to add blue to the midtones. Then you just click out here in the blue somewhere and it adds a little bit of blue, a lot of blue. You can add some magenta. So this color grading thing, you can really fine tune what you want to do.
Bud, let me ask you one thing. When using this technique for isolating the subject and cleaning up the background, you can end up with some subtle changes, like you can see around those two bottom appendages, that if you ever take the output from the TIFF or a JPEG from Lightroom of this picture and put it in preview and slide the gamma all the way up, all of these areas around the mask will show this artifact. I do that as routine to make sure that people looking at the picture won't be able to make the artifact worse by changing that setting. But I can see this residual change around the bottom appendages. How do you make sure that that is gone completely so that you can't see it?
All right, I'm going to cancel out here and just get out of it. I just brought you in here to see it.
Right.
So I haven't even concerned myself with the background at this point, but I'm getting ready to.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you put in a mask, put a mask over it at the beginning.
No, but I create the mask so I'll have future success. But what I wanted to show you is if I go into channels and I come down here, you'll see one that says subject and background.
Mm-hmm.
In the TK panel, this thing that looks like a head right here is a subject. If I hold down the shift key and click this, it automatically makes me a background and a subject mask. One click.
Okay.
The same thing if you do a sky, it'll make you a sky and a foreground. Shift key down, one click. It's a really quick way to have some mask to start with and to get your work going. So I just wanted to, while I was thinking about it.
Okay.
So on
Do you
this one, go ahead.
Do you find you need to refine the mask much, Bud, when the tool does it?
Yes, you still need to. I still go into select and mask and do the hairbrush around the edges.
But
and
it's
output
done.
it, and output
It's done
it
the
to
lion's
mask.
share, yeah.
Oh, it's done the lion's share for sure.
Yep.
But all the fine hairs on top of the head and all this, that, and the other, the mask will protect it. Okay. And to answer Allan's question, here's the mask that I have. This is where I use the mask. And this is the mask. You can see all the little hairs even on top of the head. This is after refining it with the hairbrush in select and mask. And what I do is I'm going to put a background on this guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I would use something different from what Allan normally does with a gradient. This is a star gradient, or whatever you call the gradient. It gives you a 90-degree, and you can change all the variables on it. So you can make it broader, bigger, whatever you want to do. But you can see it's a pretty good mask. There was a little bit of trim issue around some of the legs. You can see a dark spot here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get close, you could see a couple of small black lines, but those are gone now. You know, I put a separate layer on here and just took them out. So that's with the background on. And then I wanted to kind of sharpen everything. So that's what I did. And I dulled down the eyes because, as you can see, this mask over here, I didn't want the eyes to have these lit up too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I've given a general overall increase in sharpness. As you can see, you have to really go in. This is this is 100%. But you can see the eyes are backed off. Okay. And in this scenario, this is normal. But what happened is we have a foot down here. You see how that foot is kind of not quite sharp, and I wanted to sharpen it up. So what I did on this layer, I created a darken blend mode. This is a stamp. So I basically did a merge visible, holding down the Option key. And with the darken blend mode, it won't let you see the bright side of the sharpening algorithm, which I demonstrated on a previous AfterStack. So when I click this on, you'll see it sharpen, but it won't be sharpening with the garish. Can you see the leg sharpen?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm probably overdid it for demonstration purposes, and you certainly can back off on it. And since it's a smart object, you can go back and change it. So let's go to Smart Sharpen. So here's what it would look like with everything. Here's what it looks like with nothing. Okay. Here's the preview on the big screen. See it gone, and you can see little black lines coming back. So let's reduce our radius down to something tolerable. And our amount, we could bring it down. The amount is how black it is. Maybe we'll bump the radius up to 1.4. So unless you're really pixel peeping, you wouldn't know what I'd done here, but it would have the impression of sharpness. So if we accept it and go back and take it back into a normal frame of reference, you know, it brings it back to sharpness without too much ado. Now, could I take another foot and put it on there? I could. My concern was, since this is the first time I've taken this lens and used it other than what it was intended for, is that it may be getting a little soft toward the periphery.
Mm-hmm.
So I found, you know, this antenna was a little soft at the edge. This was soft. This was soft. So I think as you approach 1-to-1 magnification with this lens that is designed for 2-to-1, or in this case, normal at 1-to-2, as you pull it up forward toward 1-to-1, I think it starts to soften at the edges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you'd expect.
And then lastly, what did I do here?
One thing worth pointing out, but you mentioned you could have replaced the foot. I mean, that's something that I will infrequently do. It's very handy, especially with the clone tool, because you can resize and reconfigure the position, so you can use even a foot from the other side. But what I have to be very careful about is doing it before I put my gradient on, because otherwise you can end up moving parts of the gradient background with your clone stamp, and that can lead to inconsistencies in the gradient. You could move, if you moved it from a lighter area, it'll put the light background in with the foot where you move it to. So have to be careful about that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, one thing I usually do is I take the picture apart. So I would take the subject and just have a layer with nothing but the subject. So all that could be done. And then I do the gradient as another process.
Yep, that's the other way of doing it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so that
really
way-
what I mean by doing the gradient last.
Yeah. But a lot of times I'll just take the picture apart. If I have a couple things, I'll take parts and then work on the parts in separate layers and then blend them back together again. So there's no,
I hear you.
Some
Good
other
way
than
to do it.
astrophotography, just take it apart and put it back together.
Bud, may I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
When I look at this image, it's a stunning image, but you've used incredibly diffuse light there, and to me it looks slightly unnatural. If you wanted to add directional lighting, how would you go about it?
I would probably, I'm old fashioned. I would probably paint it in, using screen on a curve layer that I don't plan on bending the curve. And I would just, let's see if we can do it. So we'll add
That's an interesting question, Graham. I must say that I can't remember ever thinking that that my light was too diffused.
actually,
It's a good point.
I think
actually, I have backed off to one layer of diffusion, and this was one layer here.
I think the real problem is that the background, it's not a problem, but the background tends to emphasize the diffusion on the subject.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's get us a paintbrush. I've got it on screen. Let's see. I'm going to make a curve. I'm changing the blend mode to screen. And I'm going to turn this to black. And if you use the TK, you just click on that black thing and it makes a black mask that easy. So I don't have to go through the rigmarole. But if I wanted to paint this in, I'm at 100% flow. I would probably be somewhere around, I don't know, 5%, 4%. Let's try 4%. Let's blow it up a bit. Which way you want the light to come from?
The top.
The
The
top
top?
left, yeah.
Top
'Cause it
left.
has some highlights there already.
Okay, so let's take us and let's bring in, oops. Did you see what it did to me? Hang on. Look at that. It went to dual brush and I didn't tell it to. Anybody know why that's happening?
I've had that happen a lot.
Yeah, your
know why.
AI has gone rogue on you. It's probably
All right.
turned your refrigerator off as well.
That's too much. Look at that.
Yeah, that
So let's Command Z. So I've got it at 1% flow. So let's take it down to maybe 30% opacity at the same time. So see if we can just control it a little bit. And we can lighten up in the same direction. We'll give it a little bit more strength. A little bit more strength. Now, when you have too much like that, if you use the shift command, shift control on a PC, and F is for fade. Okay. And it gives you this little window, but it's only for the last brush stroke. I've mentioned this before. I can turn it all the way off and I can bring it up to way too much, or I can find out right where I want it, but I don't want it on the blue. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to back up one. Now, what I should do is use a mask because that would help me with this bug, right? So go to the channels. And let's get our modified mask. I'm going to hold down my command key I think that's the control T on a PC, and I click it, it will choose my bug for me. And so when we go back up to our last top layer, now I can paint through this onto this mask. I'm going to hide the ants. They'll still be active. Command H hides them. You can see by this multicolored line up here that there is still a mask. And so when I paint through here now, I'm only painting through that selection. It's like a stencil.
Mm-hmm.
So if I paint now, look at that, it's giving me blue still.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
I'm not sure that if the selection works on the masks or if it's just on the main layer.
I thought it's supposed to work on both, but
Yeah, because if you tried painting on the pixel layer, it'll block you, but I don't know if it goes to the mask as well.
oh, there's a way to make a pixel layer, isn't there? I'm going to hold down the Option key, do a merge visible. Now we have pixels. We still have a selection, and we want to brighten up an area. But we don't need a mask to do that because we're just going to be painting on pixels, if I'm correct. Let's see. No, it's still painting out there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you Control H to see if the selection stayed active when you stamped up? No, okay. It shouldn't paint.
I
on
know.
lines.
That's bothersome.
Oh, hang on. Your marching ants go around the outs. You may need to invert your selection because your marching ants. Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. Shift Command I will invert the selection.
Yeah. Now you're locked in.
Now we're good to go. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always something, isn't it? Uh-oh. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit. And so we can and I'm still got a screen, I think. Let's make sure. Nope, it's normal. So we're going to build a screen. Let's put a black mask on it, and we'll paint on the mask. We want a white brush and white paint. Got it. And so now then we can just paint this area, and it doesn't go out in the blue. And if that's too strong, Shift Command F gives me the slider. We can back it down to before we did it, and then we can bring it up slowly till we have it just right. We can do this area right in here. Again, Shift Command F. There's no effect. There's too much effect. And so we can just dial it in to give us a little bit of light. If we take our brush down a bit, we're already down pretty low. We can put some light on the outsides. We put a little bit of light up in here. Put a little light there. Maybe here. Maybe a little bit back in here. A little bit along the wings. Is this starting to look like what you're thinking, Graham?
Yes, but I also think it will need some darkening, some shadow. So from the wings or whatever, or the legs, some shadow to give it some depth. At the moment, it looks beautifully lit.
Okay, so let's active selection, sorry. Let's no selection now, so let's put a curve on it. And let's bring the darks. If I move this, you can see the darks will start to darken up quite a bit. If I bend the curve, then I get a lot of contrast, which is what we're probably needing, but it's also playing with the color. How do I prevent that? I'm going to do a blend mode, and this time the blend mode is luminosity. Okay. And so when we paint with luminosity, we're not adding any saturated color. I mean, it looks dull and boring, but bear with me. Let's see what we can do. So our curve looks like this. And we want more black in the darker areas. Maybe not quite so much. Let's just bend the curve a little bit like so. And bend this one up a little bit like so. Somewhere in there to paint it in. Okay, and so now let's take and make this a black mask because we want to hide it all. And now we want to paint in the areas where we want to paint it in. So let's bring it up a little bit. And let's see if we can darken in some here. Along these dark lines. So we can selectively bring in and start painting these dark lines to give that effect that I think we're looking for. I'm doing it very quickly, as you might guess, but maybe you'll get the idea. And I can make this eye darker, bring some darkness in down into here, back into here. And so basically what we're doing is contouring. Something like that.
Mhm.
That's about quick down and dirty, but
Can you just switch between the two, Bud, please? I think that much improves it.
yes,
Mhm.
I may have done something back in there. I had it more contrasty when I started the thing, but I did something to a layer back in the way that killed it a bit. Yeah, no, that's much better. And we can actually do just a regular curve on top of the whole shebang and give it a bit of contrast so that we can darken the darks just a little bit and bring the, let's see, get out of there. That down, and we'll bring this back up and then bring this back down on line. Yeah, it's not helping. I have to go in there and play with it.
What's the blend mode on there, Bud?
Nothing on this layer.
Okay.
But yeah, more contrast. A lot of times you can get a three-dimensional look if you just take these dark lines and only enhance those dark lines. And all of a sudden, it'll just pop for you. It seems like the black lines make everything else work.
Hmm.
There's a trick back in the black and white days. Speaking of black and white, Allan, I'm getting ready to modify a camera to infrared.
Oh, cool.
Those are
I've
fun.
not seen anybody stack with infrared yet.
No, I was gonna try it. I got
All
some,
right.
yeah, I got some IR illuminators as well, just to see what that would do.
Well, it's
And,
interesting if you look at Pixel Life or what Life Pixel,
yeah,
most flashes put out more infrared than they put out visible light.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I picked up three like Lume Coupe size infrared illuminators,
Mm,
and 'cause,
All
interesting.
right, a
I want to
co-conspirator.
see what they look like.
yeah. Between once I modified the camera, it's like, oh, it's not just for astrophotography. It's got to play with the UV light and the infrared light, and just, you know,
What nanometers did you choose?
well, for my UV light, oh, actually for the infrared conversion, I just did a full spectrum conversion. I just took off the IR blocking filter and put the camera back together. I did the conversion myself. And
Can I send you my camera? It'll save me $4.
I would recommend it because I wrecked the first camera I did.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at it and I says, no way.
No, I just the camera, the shutter was blown on it anyways, so I was going to replace the shutter and do the full spectrum at the same time, but I messed it up. So I got a used body and did it again, and it worked. So
Julie, can we look at your WASP?
I could try. Let's see what if I can share. I'm not sure if what I have up here. Let me minimize Zoom a little bit and see what we got.
Alan, have you posted the Zoom from last Saturday yet?
No, I posted the link to it. No, I didn't actually. No, you're right, I didn't. I'll do that as soon as we get done. Now, you know, I don't post the Zoom, I just put the link over in Patreon so you can get it there.
Got it.
Yeah. I will do that.
I appreciate it. I want to see Patrick's black and white.
Yeah, it wasn't just Patrick.
Several?
I think, a couple of people. Julie, didn't you do a black and white on my WASP?
No, I didn't.
It was I know Patrick did one, but somebody else did as well.
This is just the initial stack. So
I think it was Susan, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, so this is you know, so I took the head off, and so this is basically at the neck, at the base of the head. I don't know the technical term, but the so this would be where the spinal cord or would come in. So let me so this basically, you know, looking if you know from the bottom up on the head, and so I'm not quite sure what these openings are, but I imagine I'm not sure, but this is that was one run because my actual desire was to get the mandible and it yeah, the first run through I didn't have the diffuser on, so it had quite a bit of but this is using a 10x microscope objective on a bellows. So you know, so I went back and tried running it again. I jury rigged a diffuser, and I'm not sure if it this is back to the bottom side of the head with a diffuser to get rid of some of that highlights, but it was just interesting, I thought, but I haven't this here where yeah, so this is, you know, the mandible region from underneath, I think I missed.
And this is with your new microscope, right?
No. I just took the 10x objective off the microscope and put it on a bellows
Got
in
it.
front of
Okay.
the camera because it's
That's
the
really,
yeah.
that is a surprisingly sharp image for that objective, I think.
Yeah, it's just a cheap objective, and
Right.
it's on a bellows, and I had the subject moving on the Wii Macro sled because the bellows is just too vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
So I just rigged up to move the wasp and
Yeah.
leave the camera stationary. And
Looks good. I like the textures and
yeah, so I'm going to be spending some more time with getting the lighting better, and I think at this one I was doing 10 micron steps, and I switched to 5 micron steps.
mhm.
I have some missing areas.
What's the Pmax look like on this one?
The Pmax, not too bad, but it still have some missing areas. So, so I think I'll shoot this region. I still have the wasp head up on the holder now. So,
Have you tried using the nth feature? You use Zareen?
which feature?
It's in Zareen. Do you use
Yeah.
Zareen?
Yeah, this is Zareen right now.
If you go into preferences, and I forget where it is. Do you recall? Anyway, use the nth frame.
Oh yeah.
So you can do like 3 micron steps, and then you can go 3, 6, 9, 12. You can find out which one works for you, and then you don't have to ever do it again.
Okay, yeah. I just haven't done it because I probably didn't have enough steps, but yeah. So, like on this one, I had to turn off the automatic order because it wouldn't do it from the back to the front.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I didn't think I had too many frames yet, but but I was looking for the detail up around the mandible, and it's kind of interesting, but it's just need to get the lighting better, and so like I said, I just kind of put a little piece of Mylar around it, but it's coming.
Moving good.
I did some with the 5X and trying to think which one it went on.
Did you get any good comet photos?
I got some from the backyard. I had my 600 millimeter Sigma up, but with the clear skies, I just been grabbing as much nebula action as I can. I got some new to me nebula, the fossil footprint, and last night I was shooting the lobster claw nebula, which I never shot before. I don't know why, but
Do you have any of those pictures handy?
yeah, this isn't working here. Let me cancel.
What telescope do you use?
Right now I'm using an SV Bony. It's a 600 millimeter with a 0.8 reducer on it.
That's a refractor?
Yeah. I have a 8-inch Newtonian and a 250 millimeter refractor, and this is a 600 millimeter refractor that I've been using mostly. Let's see here where I put the things. Yeah, so convert those. I didn't convert those to tips yet. The butterfly I changed over.
while Julie's looking for that,
Yeah.
what
So this is the Butterfly Nebula. So,
Well, be thinking, guys, about what you want to talk about in the next AfterStack, so we can get some recommendations for that. Unless
Yeah,
you
and please send some photos. Alan put my email in the chat. And you know, we may not, if we get a bunch of them, I'd be delighted, but you know, it'd be fun to see what everybody's doing. And we're not here to embarrass anyone. We're all trying to learn together.
yeah, I learn something every time on these. You know, like that rotating the clone stamp that I never knew about that before, because I was always like, I'd like to clone this, but it just doesn't work.
All right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a useful tool.
Yeah.
You can also enlarge and shrink the clone source as well with the up and down arrows.
But I don't know if we could. I did put my question on Discord, but it could expand, or it might be a quick yes or quick no answer. So I don't know if Julie wants to share her pictures and then see if there's a few minutes before we close,
Sure.
just to sound me out what I've got, and then
I looked,
we
but
can pick up next time.
I didn't find your question, so I must not be looking in the right spot.
I was looking at it and the wording of it and thinking, did I really type that? It's like the predictive.
Okay.
It's like the predictive text sort of took it away and did send later or something, and shows somewhere in the wee hours of the morning what it was going to send for me. So yeah, I think the message got lost in it.
Amy, the answer to your question is yes. Single images are fine.
Yes.
Does it have to be bugs?
No,
No.
Okay.
no, it doesn't have to be macro. I mean, it can be whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're photographers first.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you one now. And and I was having that halo stuff and I was working on it yesterday and it just was driving me crazy, and I was using masks and clone stamps and a whole bunch of stuff. But I have it in semi-final form.
Well, send that on to Bud.
Yeah,
and
I will.
We'll
And
add
Diane,
it to
if
next time.
you want to send me an email and we can do a quick Zoom to solve something, you know, if I'm available, that's okay with me.
You know what, Bud? You're awesome, because, you know, I've been taking the whole photography thing a lot more seriously since been with this group versus my other group, which I didn't make it to with my prints last Thursday. Just still not able to drive long distances yet. I'll hopefully get better within the next few weeks. But I'll send you that, and I think it'll be.
Yeah, I think you can do I don't have a license for Zoom, but I think they'll allow anybody to do it for 40 minutes, which should be more.
Oh yeah, the same thing I have. Yep.
So just send me an invite for Zoom, and
Okay.
if I can do it at that time, I'll say yes. And if I can, I'll give you another time we can do it.
Sounds good. Thank
Julie,
you.
you have your nebula ready to show us?
Yeah, hang on, let me
I'd hate to leave without seeing it. Now, I've always been amazed by how you guys get that kind of clarity and resolution in those pictures.
yeah, let me go back to share.
Have the skies been clear over there, Graham? I hear you've been having a nice early fall.
Sunny day today, but rain tomorrow. So
Yeah, so can you guys see that?
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
That's the Butterfly Nebula. It's near the Cygnus constellation.
That's
Wow,
awesome,
that's
Julie.
incredible.
Yeah, so that's one I got out, and then but the ones I just shot this week I haven't finished putting together, because I shoot in monochrome, so I have to take the channels stack the channels and then blend the channels into RGB, and then I take the stars out and then I put the stars back. It's,
Bravo.
How long was that over, Julie?
Was that?
How long over? What period was that? Were they taking over?
This was about a total of 12 hours of imaging.
Wow.
How far away is that nebula, Julie?
That one's, I remember, I think it's around 10,000 light years.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's so further than I drove yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's always good, Julian, that you see that sort of thing and you're then thinking, okay, so what was going on the Earth when that light set out for us at 10,000 light years? It just it blows you away.
End of the ice age.
Yeah, so I take a series of 5-minute exposures, and so on that one it's a total of 12 hours. So each filter got what would be about 4 hours on each filter.
Wow.
I stack them.
Julie, have you tried to do a luminosity mask on that image?
Usually I do once I bring it back into Lightroom. That's not the finished image. That was, I do a program called PixInsight to do the Astro processing. And then I bring the image into Photoshop to do the, sometimes I'll try and add depth to it using high pass filters or, a variety of things to do a little bit more color work. I just find Photoshop's a little bit more useful than the PixInsight, but some people will just use the PixInsight to do all the color work, and I don't. I just blend it, then come into Photoshop. But
perfect.
But I'll do luminosity masks, color masks, just see what will work, and then sometimes I'll just do a high pass filter layer to kind of bring up the edges of the dust clouds to give them a little 3D effect. And but I take the stars out, and once I'm done with the color of the nebula, then I put the stars back in, because if you leave the stars in it and you adjust the nebula, then the stars go wonky. So that's why I'm saying, I learned how to take pictures apart, do the parts, and then put the parts back together. And my younger sister hates it when I take the stars out. She thinks that's just wrong.
Oh dear.
So, but
anybody else got anything they want to ask, add to, show?
Nick, what was your question? You wanted to introduce it and then we'll pick it up next time?
Yeah, I think so. I say it could be a quick answer from Bud, but when you're painting the mask, Bud, can it only be black or white?
Yes.
Right. So nothing between.
Well, gray.
I mean, gray.
Yeah.
Okay. That possibly opens it up then. Reason I'm asking then is it's indirect. I was that YouTube thing, you have interest in other areas, you get a video put in front of you to have a look. There's quite a good one on Affinity Designer, the sort of graphics design one, chap I follow. He showed how to create custom brushes. Now those should transfer to the photo app, and therefore a brush is a brush, to my understanding. Therefore, when you create that brush, I can see you can do gradients. So I know we can feather and all that sort of thing. And what this really is about is, if there's legs in being able to use something other than black or white, you can use the between. Then when you do your...
Look at a luminosity mask, it's full scale gray from 0 to 255. So, that's a mask. You can paint any shade of gray you want
to bring it out. So that's, you see, I hadn't started. I've been a bit distracted by one or two other things as well, but it was before I launch into it to see if there'd be something in it. And what I've got in mind is if you did one of these custom brushes, if the gradient went, either from black to gray or even to white, when you're painting on it, I'm wondering how that would play on say the insect parts and that sort of thing, where it's going to get to a point where it moves to white or something, and so that's appearing, the black and greys degrees of knot. And I just was curious to see if being able to create a custom brush in this way might open a door on, you know, when we're masking and that sort of thing, you know, in terms of what you reveal and what you hide, and the degrees to which it's hidden or revealed.
Right. So a 50% gray is going to let 50% of whatever, you know, you're trying to let, say, you're trying to put a color through. It's going to give you the option of 50% of that color at 50% gray.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, if you're doing that, if you've got a brush that you don't have to switch around, you know, between the shades of gray while you're doing it, you've got a brush that moves across that. You can design the brush, you know, in the way you want it, so that it does, you can do the areas you want and this sort of thing, but get a more graduation on the mask with one brush, not having to switch in and out of the shades of gray.
Yeah, also, Dick, if you change the opacity on your mask, on the brush, if you bring the brush to like 50%, if you're painting black, it'll put about a 50% gray in that area. And if you go to 100%, it'll give you black. And so you can throttle your amount of black or amount of white just by changing the opacity of the brush. And so then you would be painting a gray onto the mask as opposed to a black or white. Just by,
I do the same thing with flow on the brush.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, if you're using a tablet, you can use the pressure sensitivity of the of your pen to affect the opacity.
Yeah, I mean, if I had use some of my time to have a play with it and maybe try and come back next time with an example, yeah,
it'd be great.
Rather than get anyone else spending their time on it, you know, it could be one of those rabbit holes.
I got lots of rabbit holes.
You just got to catch the rabbits.
Yeah, I don't have any rabbits, just rabbit holes.
Could be snake holes.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been to bed before 3:30 any night this week. So
yeah, have you noticed I haven't called you any morning this week?
Yeah, thanks. It's clear I'm going to be up shooting. So
Astro does that, Julie, doesn't it?
yeah.
Well, I sent you the picture, bud.
Yeah, I was shooting macro and Astro at the same time last night. So
either ends of the universe.
Yeah. Well, that my website is macro to Astro. You know, I don't shoot much in between, but so last night it's actually micro to Astro. But so last night I was shooting Lobster Claw Nebula. So yeah, take a look at that today. I have boatloads. I mean, I had cloudy skies for like 2 months straight, and this last 2 weeks has been nothing but clear skies. So
it's going to be warm this coming week too.
Yeah.
Is the temperatures moving around a lot, Julie? Are you getting any dew problems or?
No, I have a dew heater on my telescope, and I also cool the camera sensor down to 32 degrees, and then I heat the front end of the telescope so it doesn't get dew, and so
it's 32 Fahrenheit, yeah. So 0 C, and then my focuser will, anytime it changes 2 degrees Celsius, my focuser will rerun just to make sure the tube didn't flex in the temperature change and change the focus. So okay,
you need to put on an addition to the top of your house so you can just open and close this from this hole in your roof.
Well, Keith keeps on to build a pier in the backyard, so I just put the telescope on the pedestal instead of on the tripod. And, but it's it's like, it's feast or famine right now, in feast mode on shooting. So.
Well, talking about feast mode, it's time for my breakfast. Anything else from anybody?
No, thank you. This has been really awesome, bud. Your
Yeah, I'm learning more from this than from, the Photoshop tutorials and such,
There's a lot of information in there. Great.
Yeah, it's packed.
Thank you, Bud, once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great rest of the weekend.
All
We'll
right.
see you next
Take
week.
care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Bud.
Bye all.
Bye.
Take care, all.
Bye-bye.